Okay, this is my just background. This is the table of contents I'm gonna talk. This is Daejeon Strategy for Carbon Neutral City and Climate Technologies in Daejeon, and next actions which results in regional innovation. And lastly, suggestions for future collaboration between China, Japan, and Korea. I'll begin with the Daejeon strategy for a carbon neutral city. Actually, Daejeon is located in the center of South Korea. The number of people is around 1.50 million, but actually more than 1.70 million people, including visitors, travelers, and workers living outside the Daejeon. So there are a compact city with many people. So the source of greenhouse gases emission is from the building and transportation. So we need target to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from especially building and mobility. But another issue is the energy. Daejeon City just use the small portion of renewable energy, heavily depending on these kinds of oil and coal power. So Daejeon City is trying to focus on those three areas to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in city area. So, of course, Daejeon City had made a lot of efforts to reduce greenhouse gases, especially since the Paris Agreement in 2015, but not enough. So Daejeon City announced another special plan to reduce greenhouse gases emissions toward carbon neutral city, especially aiming those three targets: building, mobility, and energy. But another important area is to make more participation of citizens to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, changing their consumption types or social development. So we need focus on those three areas to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and also citizens' participation. And another area is the city forest. Those 3 or 4 areas is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, but we need to get the greenhouse gas in the air through these kinds of a lot of forest. So Daejeon City is trying to focus on those 5 areas, so-called 4+1 strategy. It's making action agendas. You can see there are 14 action agendas on those 5 focusing areas. Among those 4+1 strategy and strategic areas, there are 3 main strategies of Daejeon City. The one is to establish more and more forests, reaching up to 1,000 city forests. So rebuilding Daejeon into forest city from the industrial or consumption or a lot of apartment and buildings. So as you can see, there are so many small areas of forest rebuilding many places. Another main strategy area is to supply green mobility. Daejeon tried to change all buses and taxis into eco cars to 2050. And 20,000 bicycles more. And also, importantly, city trams and intellectual transportation system. The president, Kim Jae-chol, is responsible for building those kinds of tram cities. Okay. Last main strategy is to expand more supplying renewable energy power. So Daejeon City is to develop more solar energy through technological development or more and more mini solar energy and better fuel cell, etc. I think such kinds of efforts could make Daejeon City the future leading city for renewable energy development. Okay, let's move on to look at climate technologies in Daejeon. Daejeon is the largest city of science, technology, and innovation. So there are so many, actually all kinds of technologies in Daejeon City, with many government-funded research institutes and KAIST, and many universities and many companies. So I'd like to introduce some of them, some of technologies. First category is the carbon resource upcycling technologies. So there are a lot of byproducts such as carbon monoxide and methane from chemical plants or oil manufacturing companies. So we try to purify the CO and CH4, and using catalyst metal or solid acid catalyst, we could convert the byproducts to chemical materials or fuel. So another area is the conversion technology from carbon dioxide into chemical materials and fuel or liquid fuel through the bio conversion or chemical conversion, hydrogen conversion, or electrochemical conversion technologies, and the artificial photosynthesis technologies. All of those kinds of conversion technologies are being developed here in Daejeon City. And also CO2 mineralization technology, we could use CO2 is actually waste, but change into the materials through those kinds of mineralization technology. Okay. And Daejeon City also has those kinds of biochemical processing technologies from the source of biomass. Using those kinds of biochemical processing, we could produce alternative fuel and petrochemical materials without using oil and gases and coals. And we have also such kinds of solar cell or fuel cell technologies. And importantly, we have those technologies such as energy infrastructure or conversion and efficiency technologies by Korea Institute of Materials, Machines and Materials. We are holding a conference here. So low carbon and clean energy infrastructure technology or energy efficiency technologies. So energy conversion and electrification technology. Those are government-funded research institutes and KAIST doing researches to develop the climate technologies for industry and cities. So we could use those technologies to change our cities into carbon neutral city. Okay, it's very important, our capability for the future. Okay, I'd like to say briefly additional actions which result in regional innovation. It is very important. Dr. Jung-naegon mentioned we should change our conventional knowledge and economic development way and the social development we develop together. So we change those kinds of system or conventional knowledge into the protection, environmental protection, or new green economic development and the social transition all together. So our regional innovation pursues those kinds of co-transition process with these kinds of actions. The first is to establish the innovation ecosystem, the fostering innovative ventures and startups. We try to support many kinds of startups and innovative companies, but nowadays we should support more to establish new startups and innovative companies using the climate change technologies for towards carbon neutral city. Additionally, changing our knowledge and the social system and everything. So those kinds of startups or innovative companies ecosystem could change or could contribute to our efforts for future carbon neutral city. So we need to foster the green innovation companies, so free zones using green technologies, etc. So another important area is to think about and establish the circular economy, city-based. So we try to decouple using the resources of oil and gases and power, something like that, into renewable energy and other kinds of resources. But another important point is to reuse our products or services we already used. So recycle the system without producing more waste. So, more circulation of raw materials and the establishment base for sustainable products or advancement or recycling systems. And also strengthen carbon neutrality measures, something like that. This is also important. The eco-friendly or low-carbon and self-reliance city is very important for all kinds of major cities for the future. So we need to try to engage more citizens and companies and local governments using the digital technologies and also commercially available recycling products, supporting those kinds of products or circular economy system infrastructure. Okay, these kinds of IT-based digital startups are increasing in Daejeon City. So many companies are using big data and the digital technologies to produce the renewable products or new kinds of development system for carbon neutral city in the future. And another important point is to think about the combination or integration of the more convergence technologies and advanced technologies or art and design for the newly developed products and recycled products. People usually think about the recycled products is low quality. This is a conventional knowledge. But in order to use more and more such kinds of recycled products by citizens, we need to get more qualified products with more advanced technologies, integrating many technologies, and art and design as well. So people could attractively buy such kinds of recycled product, even with low cost. So we need to develop these kinds of upcycling products and services with more technologies. And also another point is to increase different kinds of educational and learning system in the city. People usually think about with more conventional education to get knowledge, to take an exam, to more better position or get a job, without reducing greenhouse gases or any kinds of efforts to reduce greenhouse gases in the city. But those kinds of conventional knowledge or social system is any more sustainable. So we need to develop how to learn or change our conventional knowledge into new knowledge. We could be possible for ourselves to develop the different kinds of social systems and different cities with different kinds of buildings and transportation systems and energy sources with the citizen participation. So how to learn or how to exchange or different kinds of experiences and knowledge each other with these kinds of new educational system in the city area, and also cooperation with other areas and regions. Okay, I will complete my presentation with suggestions for future collaboration between Shandong and Tsukuba and Daejeon City. Of course, additionally, between countries together. We need to think about the collaboration project together or regular meetings to discuss or share our experience or best practice and the citizens' living labs. There are a lot of increasing efforts to change our social system through living labs led by citizens with more advanced technologies, changing our cities. So we need to, we could make international collaboration programs led by citizens through those kinds of living net programs, and also joint educations, collaborative policy studies as well, because it's a long-term shifting process from these kinds of greenhouse gas emission economy and society into carbon neutral society. We need to develop more our ways of process, transition process. So we need to policy studies as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your attention.